let's rethink Pereira and Adesanya. Okay, let's retake a look at this. And guys, I put out a poll question on YouTube, and 50,000 of you responded to it. And it was just, who was more impressive over the weekend? Here's how we're going to look at it. Pereira stopping Strickland in the first round. Adesanya beating Cannonier for all 5 rounds. Both are really incredible. What's more impressive? Now, let's back up to Pereira. Pereira did not do much on Saturday. He truly did not to change the way that we look at him. He added excitement, he added to it, and he reinforced. But we knew going in, he's a very good striker. He proved he's a very good striker, right? Like, we didn't see anything new. He didn't have to deal with adversity. We didn't get late. We didn't get a conditioning checked. We didn't get, how do you do it, stopping the takedowns. We didn't get, how do you scramble up off the bottom? How do you fight off the fence? Like, there were so many things that he didn't have the ability to change perception, but boy, did he win us over as the guy who should be fighting Adesanya. Hold the thought. I had a very interesting talk earlier, and it was with a friend of mine who also happens to be a doctor, happens to be a smart guy who can study things, used to be a manager, used to be an agent, used to be a trainer within our sport. He had a very different assessment of Izzy's walkout, okay? Starting with the walkout, which does start everything, and a guy's approach does matter. If he comes in there cold, performance is going to affect him. If he comes in there warm, if he comes in there just right, if he comes in there fired up, if he comes in there scared, if he comes in there timid, like, these are real things. How that fight starts is a very real indicator for what's going to happen later in the evening. I loved Izzy's walkout. I looked at it purely from an entertainment standpoint. I thought it was fun. It was unexpected. The Undertaker just retired. Like, there's a lot of things that made that work, and he nailed it. He had the help of the UFC, who knew that was coming, who stunted the Undertaker's walk, who made it look like that, who added the smoke machines. I just thought it worked. I loved it. My friend's take was, wait a minute, Chael, here's what you're missing. It was slow. Go on. Yes, it's slow. The Undertaker walks out there slow. He goes, no. The whole walkout and the whole approach was very slow on purpose. Izzy knew and had to program himself that it's going to be slow. It's going to be methodical. That carried over to the fight. If you juxtapose that with Izzy's walkout in Australia versus Whitaker the first time, remember when he danced to the ring? I think there was even like a flip component in there. I mean, he was popping around. It couldn't have been a faster. It couldn't have been a more higher energy. That fight, right? That fight kicks off. The performance matched the walkout. Do they have anything to do? Have we completely overthought that? Maybe, but maybe not. My friend could be onto something here. Because I will concede to you that the approach does matter. I never looked at it like this. And I don't know how much I'm looking at Izzy's fight and willing to concede that it was slow. I feel that there was opportunities there and Izzy took them. And when he wasn't taking them, he was attempting to set them up. Did that drag that on? Sure. Sure it did. But is any of that wrong, bad, or anti the strategy that Izzy went in there with? What was Izzy seeing? What was he not seeing? What was Jared doing? Right? I mean, these are things that you would only have from the eyes of Adesanya, who knows his own skills. He knows his own ability. He knows his own range. Did Jared just have a really good plan for starting to nullify some of that? Was Jared's position and footwork and his reaction, right? It's one of those things where we'd only know from Adesanya. Okay. I want you to keep that in mind, and I'll tell you why. We don't know what to expect coming into this fight, but we are going to make a lot from what we have in their kickboxing fights. We're going to look a lot more than if guys that competed in other things. And we've seen that. Guys that ran into each other in Abu Dhabi, guys who ran into each other in the amateurs back in the NCAA. It's different here because the rules are not. They are not a whole new sport. You have two kickboxers who have never gone for, not just never gotten a takedown, they have never attempted. They have never looked for one. So we as the audience have very good reason to believe they're going to go out and kickbox. They're going to do it in the time constraints of the unified rules with this 5-minute round business. They're going to do it in 4-ounce gloves. They're going to do it in an octagon instead of a ring. What else can we reasonably believe is going to be different? This has never been done. So now you start to ask yourself, how are you going to get a different result? Just because we call it MMA, right? If they kickboxed and Pereira won, and then they redid it and Pereira won, aren't they redoing it again? We're calling it something different, but aren't they doing the same thing? So we're going to ask ourselves, what is the approach? What is the motivation? Now, Adesanya is telling us, he looks at this directly insulted by Pereira. Pereira got the best of him over there and stopped him from getting his dreams. This is Izzy. Izzy has come up and being cases. Now he's coming over here and he's trying to do it here. He saw what I'm doing. He saw the attention and the success I'm having. He literally came here to stop me again. And Izzy's offended by that. He's driven by that, and he's not going to let it happen, is what he's telling us. What would any other human being do? What would you do? I mean, would you be able to set aside what happened in your past? Would you be able to set aside those experiences and those memories as badly as you want to, as much as you want to erase that, as much as you are willing, and Izzy is, to take the risk to walk out there just to have the opportunity to right what you view as a wrong? But can you actually do it? And I know I'm talking about the physical. I'm not talking about what's going to happen when those boys fight. I'm talking about the approach when they walk in. If we think that we have discovered something through the walkout that was done Saturday versus the dance that was done in Australia, if we think that we have discovered something about Izzy, then what are you going to make of and how are you going to surmise his approach to this fight? Is he a different human being that can block out the past? Is he the same guy that all the rest of us would be? We're going to have to make something of that. Is Pereira all of a sudden full of motivation and lacking pressure, right? It's an interesting spot for Pereira. The fact that Pereira has the wins over Izzy and the fact that the odds makers today, I realize we haven't had a lot of time, but they're favoring Izzy. Had they favored Pereira, we'd have this whole dialogue about the pressure and Pereira came over and he's the one that's got something to lose. That's not the case. So to try to guess what the approach would be, I mean, based on what we've seen, it's perfect for Izzy. Everything's great. Everything's as advertised. He could not be more willing. He could not have jumped on this any faster. Anyone else that was in a tough spot, like the one that I'm suggesting may exist, would have not agreed to that fight. Would have given something to protect their ego while not committing themselves. Anybody else in Izzy's spot that was on the mic with Joe Rogan would talk about, well, let's see. Let's see where things go. I don't know how much credit you should get for later to 1-2 come. We'll go back and we'll talk and we'll sit down and we'll see what's best. I mean, you've had all these games. There was no games. He got in front of it. And it does matter. Izzy's approach, man, sure it does. And so does Pereira's. And all we can do is guess. This has never happened. Two guys, different walk of life, met up. They met up again. We've gotten close. Joanna and Shevchenko had kickboxed, as a matter of fact. So we got close, but not this. Not exactly this. Oh, and by the way, the person that had the success is not the favorite. They are the underdog. They are not expected to have it again. Is that a confidence builder for one? Is that a pressure reducer for the other? Right? We don't know. These are all questions. This is the most fascinating, unexpected match of 2022.